Hello and welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the first concept project that I'm going to be working on for this portfolio series, and that is Jira. If you've never heard of Jira, it is a product management, road mapping, bug fixing, project management tool. It does a lot of different stuff. And so we're going to be looking at how we can fix some of the usability issues that Jira has. I use Jira personally, so it's a really easy project to pick up and begin to fix. So I'm not going to be looking at it through my lens, though. I'm going to try to look at it through the lens of an everyday user that is more of a power user. I use Jira somewhat limitedly. I use it for tracking my design tickets, but we're going to be doing this series specifically so that you can get a sense of how to do a concept project, get a sense of like what are the limitations and what kind of deliverables you should be working on. That's what this series is going to be about. So if you would like to learn more, make sure to subscribe and continue to watch this series. We're going to be doing 2 products, so you'll make sure to see more than enough of examples and deliverables and all that kind of stuff. So I'm really excited to show that to you guys. And of course, as I've always mentioned, we want to make sure that you stay encouraged and motivated. So connect with me on the Slack community channel, which will be in the description. And then you can talk to me about some of the things that you're struggling with. We can get on a Zoom call together, go over some of that stuff, and I can just extend myself to you guys as an additional resource outside of these videos. So you're probably wondering, why did I pick Jira to start with? And I spent about a month trying to figure out a product that I wanted to fix, and 2, because we're going to be doing 2. And I came to Jira because I use it, like I said, all the time, but it's known for having usability issues. On the screen here, you can see a couple of its competitors, maybe somewhat indirect competitors, but these other tools offer pretty much the same stuff. And ClickUp has a lot of the different features. I say that specifically because you'll see in a second here that ClickUp actually made an hour-long video talking about how they're better than Jira. So that's a little unique compared to, say, like a quick sales page. But if you go down and we're going to look at some of the ratings here, you'll notice the difference between usability from Jira to everything else. Ease of use, I should say. But it's known that Jira is a difficult product to use. But the other reason that I chose it is because this is a concept project. I wanted it to be a product that you should be aware of if you're not already. And then anybody, early stage startups, additional people that are in my space that are going to be checking out my case studies, they're going to want to see a product that they are probably know of. I thought about doing an unheard of product, but that really wouldn't do me much benefit. So I just wanted to pick a product that was relatable to you and to anybody that's going to come check out my case studies. So I chose Jira. And with that, I'm going to start to show you there are lots of reviews online. I think some of the issues with a concept project is we're not going to be able to talk to real clients. So we need to think about how can we get around that. So one of the ways to do so is to look at all of the different reviews that are out there. I am creating this UX UI audit template to track all of the work that I'm working on. You'll notice that I even put time for how much time I want to spend on each individual piece. That's going to help with this video, but that's also going to help me kind of push this project along. So I took screenshots of all of they may not all be directly to ease of use, but they're basically like the worst reviews for ease of use. And then if I felt like there might have been something there that I can quickly highlight, then I'm going to do so. With that, I haven't done, these are the Capterra. I haven't done the G2 crowd screenshots, so I'm going to spend some time and then update this. I'm thinking about sharing this for you guys so you have something to work off of. I'm not sure yet. I'm still trying to decide on that. If you guys would be interested in that, make sure to let me know in the comments, and then I can be aware of that. So this competitor analysis, because we're not going to be able to talk to the client either, we're going to need to come up with a lot of different deliverables to help us get to know the user. I think the most important thing when you're trying to fix a product is you want to understand the users, you want to understand the business goals, and then you want to understand the product. If you can understand all three of those things, it becomes really easy to make recommendations for how to change usability, add more value to the product, and those kind of things. So by getting to know the competitors a little bit better, and this title was really fascinating to me. I haven't watched it yet. I'm trying to make this as authentic as possible, where when I'm going through, and each video coming after this is going to be a documentation of these deliverables essentially. And that's this video is meant to be like an overview so you can get a sense of what you're going to be learning or seeing. So this video I'm going to cover bits and pieces of in one of the videos here, and talk to you about what ways they improve the product. Obviously, we're not trying to copy how they improve the product, and of course they have their own set of business goals. But nonetheless, I think that's going to be really helpful to have that competitor analysis. There's not really any other great videos out there for that. Another thing I'm doing is this user-centered design canvas. This is by the Rectangles, which are two design, just experienced designers that came up with this canvas. I made a couple of notes here for myself so I wouldn't forget, but this really doesn't have to do with the canvas. And then if you wanted to download this from their website, they give you this manual to sort of explain this. This is sort of like the business model canvas that you might have seen before. And then we're going to apply these sticky notes to each of these. So I'll spend 20 minutes going through that. And yeah, we're going to basically go through that together. And I might do some quick time lapses, come back, talk about some of the things that I found and those kind of things. Then we're going to try to get to know our user through the empathy map. So I'm taking some of these from Miro. You'll see here this link up here. This is from the Miroverse. Miroverse is a community instead of the traditional templates. If you just go to Miro.com, search templates, you're not going to see this empathy map. You're going to see a different one. I prefer the way that this is laid out. I think there's a lot more space to work with. And I like that they add these quick descriptions. And then I also underneath took screenshots of the additional descriptions. So this one was like 4 different exercises, but I only used 2, and it's just this empathy or empathetic workshop experience mapping. So I can link that in the description to make it easier, and you can check out Miroverse. Miroverse is a really valuable resource. So additional sticky notes for this one. Then we're going to do a product overview. And the only way to really do that when you don't have a client to talk to is to watch videos. And mind you, I do know how to use the product, but I don't use workflows, and I do create tickets. I think those are going to probably be the 2 main use cases that I'm going to focus on, is either workflows or use cases. I say that because when I was reading the reviews really quickly, I didn't want to get to know them too much, but I wanted to kind of get a sense of like where this is going to go. I think those are going to be the 2 user flows that we're going to focus on, because it seems like those are the most difficult for people that are reviewing the product. So we'll watch these videos, or I will, and kind of give you a summation of it. If you want to do Jira and you want to do the same project, by all means, go for it. And I can link these in the description if you're interested in those too. I'll do it just to be safe. Then we're going to do primary user tasks, where we're going to lay out all the user tasks and try to get a sense of what tasks or what user flows truly we're going to be focused on. Like I said, I'm making assumptions on what I think it's going to be, but maybe when I read those reviews, there's going to be something else that stands out to me. Then we're going to do user problem statements. It may not be exactly laid out like this. This is another one from Miro, but a user problem statement is essentially a way of saying, it's like a sentence to figure out what problem you're trying to solve for. So it's like I am, and it would be an explanation or descriptive of that user. So I am, in this case, we can say like engineering manager. I am an engineering manager. I'm trying to create a workflow, but in this case, let's just say it takes way too much time to create a workflow, or it's too complicated to create a workflow because I don't understand such so-and-so, which makes me feel upset or whatever the case. So we're trying to get a sense of what are the problems that our users are facing. That way we can create features around that, or if not a feature, at least some sort of an explainer video or somewhat. In this case, we're not going to make explainer videos, but we're trying to make it so that the UI does all of the explanation for the user so that they know if they come across an error or they don't know how to get to the next step, that the software makes it dead obvious. And that's what the whole point of this is. And then we're going to do a feature audit where I'm going to make heavy assumptions, because this is something I would do with a client. As far as what features are used all the time, most of the time, some of the time, or none of the time, and then amount of people that use it. Fortunately, I have a lot of people that I can go to at my company and just ask what features they use. I'm probably not going to do too many of those people. I don't want to waste people's time, but this is what can become a problem. But what I want to say real quickly on that is, don't focus on the little things. These assumptions that you're going to make, they're sort of like assumed, no pun intended, or not to repeat myself. It's assumed that you're going to have to make assumptions, right? Because you don't know the company. You're not working with them directly. And I don't think a hiring manager or anybody else that would be interested in looking at your case studies is going to care about those assumptions. What they're really looking for is, what problem did you see and how did you solve it? And what was your process for doing so? Don't worry about making these assumptions. If they're incorrect, the point will still stand. So don't get hung up on those things. And that's what this series is hopefully going to help you to see. It's like, we're going to get through this no matter how complicated it may seem, and you're going to realize that you can do this on your own. Then we're going to create 3 user personas. I'm just showing one example here. Another one I think that I got from Miro, for sure. I got this from Miro actually. And then we're going to lay out pretty much everything that you're seeing here. I don't know if I'm going to do this last 2, but these quotes we can get directly from the reviews. That's the really nice benefit. And we can look at their title as well. Some of them even have their name and their LinkedIn. So that's really cool. You can actually reach out to these users if you wanted to and incentivize them for doing an interview with you. And that would be a way to really take this project to the next level. I don't think I'm going to go that far, simply because I want to keep the series moving. But if you really wanted to go that far, you could, which is really nice. Like, just use the resources that you have at your disposal. And then we're going to do a mental modeling exercise. I have not really done these. I've done it like maybe once, but I can't even really remember how it works. I just know that it will help me to understand how to think through using the product from the vantage point of the user. Because I use it, I do not want to be thinking about it basically how I use it. I want to be thinking about it through the lens of these 3 user personas. That's why it comes right after the personas. And then we're going to do a user flow diagram, which we're going to do in FigJam, where we're going to take the user flows and the user tasks that we're most focused on, and then create a user flow diagram, just so we can get a sense, big picture, like how everything works. And then we're going to do the UX UI audit. I took a picture of this checklist design. This is a resource. It's a free resource that you can use. And it's just like kind of like a heuristic analysis. We're going to be doing tons of stuff in the UX UI audit. The UX UI audit is probably going to take me, I have allotted 10 hours. I'm not sure what it's going to take, quite honestly. I've done a few before, but for this series, I'm not sure how much time I want to spend in I'm also trying to sort of replicate this or make an example of this content, this concept, so that if I do a UXI audit or offer a UXI audit, UI audit to early stage startups, that they can get a sense of like what a presentation is going to look like, the deliverables, So this is sort of like mocking up that example. And when I create the videos in the case studies, I'm going to show some of the stuff. So that's what this is going to be about. And I mean, from there, this is kind of going to repeat itself for quite some time. Then we're going to do a heuristic analysis and use another tool, the IXD checklist, which is another great resource. We're going to use every tool at our disposal for this, just so we can be over prepared, find as many usability issues as possible. If I don't feel like it's adding enough value, I may not do every single checklist that I have at my disposal, but I'm going to give them to you so you know where you can begin and start. And then we're going to do accessibility. I'm not sure if I'm going to use accessibility to do this. I've plugged them before, not in any way affiliated with them, but they're a way to do a quick audit of accessibility issues. That's another really good like benefit for an audit, is just finding any sort of accessibility issues. And then we're going to do some design research after we've figured out and done the audit and know what we're trying to solve for. Like, what are all the pain points? What are the usability issues? And then after finding all the usability issues, we're going to, so for example, I found like 60 usability issues for the product that I work on. We prioritize them 1 to 4, which is what like the Nielsen Norman Group's like 4 sorting matrix, which we'll get into later on in this series. We're going to do research to figure out how we would change specific components to make them easier. I do believe I have an example. I didn't put it here, so let me see if I can find it. Okay, so I saw this article, and this will give you a really good sense of sort of what we're going to go for. So Elikin's another like design agency. So this is a really good example. They find a problem, show you how to get the solution. So we're going to lay out like in a presentation format. I don't know. There was another article that they might have laid out more than just that one, but that's like one example of like what we're sort of going for. We're looking for usability issues, and then we're going to show them how we would change them or how we'd fix them. So that's what the research, and then the design stage is going to be these design recommendations. And then we're going to put together a quick presentation very quickly, because we're not presenting this to the client. We would if it was a real client. And then we're going to create the case study. So that creating the case study is where we're going to go into Figma, lay out the structure, go back to my Figma file, and kind of put everything together. So that's sort of, in a nutshell, what this series is going to be about. So one of the things that I wanted to do is the stakeholder interviews, and sort of as I was mentioning, we're not going to be able to do those, but we're going to mimic that as best as possible. Now, my design rec for today is this sticky notes plugin. You'll notice I actually had it over here. So let me just pull it up real quick. The reason I like this one so much is because if you've used, say, like Miro before, it's the best tool that I can think of for sticky notes. These size, you can basically size them really easily in the text. Pretty much, it's just easy to use. I don't know. There's no real like way of saying it other than that. When I was trying to use some of the other plugins, it didn't work if I wanted to make them smaller or larger the way I was hoping for them to work. So anyways, there's endless amounts of ways that you can use sticky notes in Figma, right? So I would highly recommend it. You can use Miro, but I just prefer to have it here simply because if I'm going to be sharing out these exercises with you, or if I'm going to be sharing out, which I've done Miro to share out exercises before on this channel, but if I'm going to be sharing out with a client, I'd rather have it with the design work all sort of like on one, in one document, you could say. So sticky notes would be my recommendation. You'll be able to use it for so many different things, a lot of UX research, that's for sure. In conclusion, as I always say, remember, it takes 10,000 hours to master a craft. So what are you designing today? Maybe it's going to be this project with me. And if so, I really look forward to seeing you join me on the ride. as I always say, connect with me on LinkedIn, on Slack, in the community, and then also just reach out to me and on any of those, and we'll get on a Zoom call. So leave me comments as well if you have any other questions or thoughts on the series, and I'll see you guys in the next one.